Chapter 970. By Xiaosheng's body stiffened. He was infuriated by Yi Qinghan's teasing and disdainful tone. Thinking back to the day when he was stripped naked by Yi Qinghan, he had spent half a year with Yi Qinghan. Wasn't that the same as running around Yi Qinghan naked? Bastard, I wish you a good death. You'll be stabbed to death by swords, chopped to death by blades, and devoured by the railing leopard. Bai Xiaosheng cursed in exasperation. Haha, I'm so lucky that even hell can't take me away. I'll still be able to escape today. Watch me break through the 9 heavens with my blade. Yi Qinghan laughed loudly. His aura surged, and he was unwilling to lower his head in the face of countless powerful enemies. With that, Yi Qinghan pushed Bai Xiaosheng away and forced a large group of experts out. Yi Qinghan brought Bai Xiaosheng out of the infinite law domain and kept retreating while facing the Sage King and the others. Let go of my sister. My infinite law domain will no longer interfere in your matters. Bai Fengyun stepped forward and stared at Yi Qinghan as she said in a deep voice. Yi Qinghan maintained a distance of dozens of meters from the group, and there were more than 10 overgods 100 meters behind him. On his right was the infinite law domain's barrier, and on his left were dozens of experts. There was no need to talk about the front. It was too difficult to break out of here. Swish. Yi Qinghan pushed Bai Xiaosheng towards Bai Fengyun, and his figure flashed as he rushed to the back. He tore through the void, and his blade chi shredded everything. He wanted to break through the defense behind him and leave this hopeless situation. Swish, swish, swish. After Bai Fengyun rescued Bai Xiaosheng, she immediately returned to the entrance of the infinite law domain. The Sage King, along with the 4 great battle constitutions and the railing leopard, shattered space and charged towards Yi Qinghan. Boom! Yi Qinghan paid no attention to the people behind him. His divine power poured out, and his aura soared into the stars, sending the dozen or so chief gods flying. However, his own body couldn't withstand the terrifying force of the impact, and he was sent flying backward. Open! Yi Qinghan was in midair. He twisted his waist and slashed his long saber horizontally, attacking the Sage King and the others indiscriminately. Boom! Boom! Dozens of attacks collided with Yi Qinghan's long saber at the same time. The shockwave sent his unstable body tumbling to the ground, and he was sent flying thousands of meters away. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. Sword rainbow pierces sun and moon. Swish. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Everyone's attacks were the fiercest. Outside the edge of the 10,000 law domain, blade lights and sword shadows flashed, rainbows pierced through the sky, and air currents swirled. It was extremely terrifying. Boom! Boom! Ka ka ka! The sound of the void shattering could be heard incessantly. Each attack could kill hundreds of half-step lords. Yi Qinghan got up from the ground. He didn't even have time to wipe away the blood at the corner of his mouth. He slashed again with his saber, but he was quickly sent flying again. After being sent flying, he quickly got up again. The sanctified physical body's ability to withstand attacks was indeed powerful. After being sent flying more than 10 times, Yi Qinghan's clothes were tattered, and he was in a sorry state. However, the Sage King and the others grinned coldly, mocking him with disdain. Yi Qinghan, there's no way you can escape today. If you're smart, you'd surrender now. Otherwise, I'll beat you until you kneel and beg for mercy. The Sage King said coldly. Yi Qinghan stood tall on the ground, sword in hand. He was in a sorry state. It was not that he wasn't powerful enough, but there were too many powerhouses. A cold glint flashed. Yi Qinghan grew calmer and calmer, thinking about how to deal with this situation. There were too many opponents, and he had the most divine power. Even if he spread his divine power, he could only disperse their attacks. However, it would consume more than 10 times their divine power. If this continued, his injuries would accumulate, and he would be the one to die in the end. Fight one at a time. Kill one at a time. Yi Qinghan clenched his fists and decided on a countermeasure. Even if one of the powerhouses attacked his vitals, he would kill one at a time until they were afraid. Boom! 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 Yi Qinghan's dragon blood boiled. The 10,000 Buddha's pagoda protected his heart, the metal origin protected his internal organs, and the fire origin was attached to him. He waved his flame origin to replace his tattered divine robe. His aura soared as he borrowed the power of heaven and earth. The powerhouses of the myriad law realm looked at Yi Qinghan in shock. They were both overgods, but Yi Qinghan's battle prowess was a little too terrifying. Bai Xiaoxing nervously clenched her fists and asked excitedly, "Big brother, do you think he can escape?" "He can't. He's indeed very strong, but it's impossible for him to escape from the combined forces of the Railing Leopard and the Sage King. Moreover, there are so many overgods around. There's no hope at all," Bai Fengyun replied decisively. Bai Xiaoxing's face was a little pale. She wanted to say something, but she didn't. She knew that her status couldn't be compared to Bai Yelu's. Bai Yelu wouldn't listen to her, so she gave up struggling. At this moment, Yi Qinghan mobilized the 5 elements to form the 5 elements battle dragon. His physical body transformed into a dragon, and he crazily swept through space and time, spiraling upwards and tearing the earth apart. A 10,000 feet long true dragon appeared. Its dragon might covered the sky and earth, and its dragon body covered the sun. He's a giant dragon race's transformation expert? The powerhouses of the myriad law realm were shocked. The Railing Leopard was also startled. It didn't dare to breathe under the pressure of the monster race's superior aura. Boom! Yi Qinghan swung his huge dragon tail, wanting to get rid of some of the messy small fries. He directly swept across thousands of miles. Wah wah wah! Space constantly collapsed and shattered. The Sage King's fingers seemed to be able to imprison heaven and earth, and everything within thousands of miles was within his attack range. Everyone used their strongest moves, wanting to break Yi Qinghan's attack. Boom! Dozens of attacks gathered together, soaring into the starry river. Sand and sand were swept up, blocking one's vision. Bang bang bang! After the 10,000 feet long divine radiance, dozens of figures were sent flying, crashing into the ground and creating deep trenches. The huge dragon body collapsed mountains and rivers. Yi Qinghan's dragon tail was directly pierced through by the great, desolate, imprisoning heavenly finger. Blood dyed the sky and earth. Yi Qinghan reverted to his original body as he rolled. A hole appeared in his leg bone, and blood flowed non-stop. The order of his physical body was scattered, and he couldn't recover from his injury. Yi Qinghan climbed up and stabbed his long blade into the ground. He wiped his wound with his big hand. Blood no longer gushed out, but the wound was still shocking. The dozens of master gods that were sent flying by Yi Qinghan weren't in a good state either. Their divine bodies were almost smashed, and their blood was in turmoil. They couldn't mobilize it, and they lost their ability to fight on the spot. Yi Qinghan looked coldly at the people of Demon God Mountain. His hair was dyed red with his own blood essence. Blood dripped down from his arm, dripping onto the heavy blade and flowing along the blade, constantly smashing into the dust. "Let's see if you have more blood or my Demon God Mountain has more people. If I want to kill you, it's just a matter of waving my hand. But since you're a talent, I hope you can lead the insane sect to submit to Demon God Mountain. Otherwise, I would have killed you long ago. Don't be so shameless." The Sage King coldly reprimanded. "My insane sect will not submit to anyone, nor will we become anyone's tool. Whether it's Demon God Mountain or the Sorcerer Tribe, it's not realistic. Today, I can die in battle, but you definitely won't capture me alive. You definitely won't use my life to threaten the brothers of the insane sect." Yi Qinghan firmly replied. Yi Qinghan let go of the heavy blade and took a small step back. He formed a seal with his palms, and the top-grade fire origin burned in all directions. The flames turned into a dragon, and then into a giant. Fire burning the 9 heavens. Boom boom boom. Streams of fire swept up the heaven and earth, rushing in all directions as if they wanted to burn the heavens. Their aura was not inferior to a true dragon at all. Bai Yelu frowned and stared at Yi Qinghan with a questioning gaze. This was clearly the 10,000 arts returned to one sect's divine ability. How did Yi Qinghan know it? Chapter 971. Bai Yelu's stare made Bai Xiaoxing's hair stand on end, and he dared not look him in the eye. Bai Fengyun looked at his sister and sighed secretly. Yi Jingxing's expression did not look good either. Flames burned the sky, covering thousands of miles. The Lord-level fire origin could burn everything. Even the space around them was burned to the point of collapse. Yi Qinghan waved his hand and turned into a dragon, sweeping across thousands of miles. He took the initiative to kill the weaker lords and clean up the battlefield. Kill! A furious roar reverberated between heaven and earth like a clap of thunder, swallowing mountains and rivers. Yi Qinghan stepped on the fire dragon, shattering the clouds. He charged forward aggressively with heavy weapons in hand, causing the heroes to tremble in fear. Tumbling clouds and splitting sun palm. Boom boom boom. The Holy Lord King's palm tore the sky apart as if he wanted to destroy time and space. He was so powerful that it was as if the chaos god of war had reappeared. Black Tiger Roar. Tiger Liang turned into a primordial black tiger that was incomparably huge. His roar shattered the clouds, and the timid ones were sent flying while coughing up blood. Even the half-step lords did not have the strength to do so, and they all retreated thousands of miles away. The flames swept across thousands of miles like a dragon. A few lords did not manage to escape in time and were directly engulfed by the flames. Apart from a few super-existences like the Battle Constitution, there were very few who could resist Yi Qinghan's flames. Shrill screams tore through time and space. The furious roars of the lords changed the color of heaven and earth. They struggled in the flames, and even their souls were burning. The heart-wrenching pain made them despair. No matter how strong their divine power was, they could not extinguish the flames on their bodies. Miserable, despair, fear, all kinds of negative emotions filled the surroundings. The experts of the myriad law domain blocked the flames with a boundary. Moreover, it was because of the joint efforts of Bai Yalu and the others. They discovered that Yi Qinghan's battle strength was too terrifying. If they only relied on the 4 great battle constitutions, they absolutely wouldn't be able to keep him here. Unfortunately, there was an additional Sage King, a variant Railing Leopard, and the restless 10,000 Arts Unification Sect Master Bai Yalu. Yi Qinghan's chances of escaping were 0. Yi Qinghan also understood the situation he was in. At this moment he was filled with the will to die. His saber shattered the attacks of several experts, but he was sent flying by the Holy Sovereign King and Tiger Liang. The flames on his body dissipated, and his divine power stagnated. He rubbed a deep trench into the ground and tore it apart violently, stabilizing himself with great difficulty. At the center of the battlefield, apart from Yi Qinghan, the 4 war constitutions, the Holy Lord, and the Railing Leopard, there was no one else. The other small fries were scared away. They simply couldn't withstand the heart-devouring flames. Without so many small fries stirring up trouble, Yi Qinghan climbed up from the ground and formed a seal with his palms. The Berserk Heart Mirror formed by the Berserk Heart Mirror protected his chest. Blue veins bulged all over his body, his black hair danced in the wind, and his eyes burst with towering battle intent. I was born a man. If I fight, I will fight to the death. Back then, I compromised once and my family was destroyed. In this life, the word compromise does not exist in my dictionary, let alone the word surrender. His hoarse voice reverberated in the air. Yi Qinghan stepped towards the 6 experts with his bare hands. His aura was strong to the extreme. Even though he knew he was going to die, he wanted to die a little more heroically. He didn't want to die as cowardly as he did in his previous life. The Holy Lord didn't expect Yi Qinghan's will to be so strong. For the sake of dignity, he was even willing to give up his life. With just this battle intent and battle technique, even if the Great Tao returned and the yellow sky reappeared, no matter how strong the war constitutions became, they still might not be able to defeat him. The Tao hearts of the 4 war constitutions were shaking. Living in the same era as Yi Qinghan, even the war constitutions felt despair, let alone others. Bai Xiaosheng looked at Yi Qinghan's terrifying aura and thought about his own progress in the past half a year. He actually didn't realize that this person was an expert and even nurtured him as a disciple. At this moment, he was so embarrassed that he didn't know how to raise his face. Yi Qinghan locked onto his target, the Railing Leopard. It wasn't an expert from the Demon God Mountain and had only come for the benefits. If it was scared, it would naturally give up on the benefits. However, the 4 war constitutions couldn't do that. They had collective benefits and missions, so they wouldn't retreat until they were at the end of their rope. Yi Qinghan stared at the railing leopard until its hair stood on end. It kept roaring and wanted to retreat, but it was unwilling. Boom. The railing leopard's Dao heart was in a panic. In order to stabilize its state of mind, it roared and slammed its forelimbs on the ground, causing the earth to crack and dust to fly. Kill him. Don't let him gather any more force. The sage monarch's eyes flashed coldly as he watched Yi Qinghan's aura rise bit by bit until it reached a terrifying boundary point where even the overgods couldn't resist. He knew that if this dragged on, their alliance would be crushed by Yi Qinghan's aura. Thus, he made up his mind. Great Desolate Imprisoning Heavenly Finger. Chapter 972. Translator, Endless Fantasy Translation Editor. Endless Fantasy Translation. The railing leopard was scared off by Yi Qinghan's aura. It wasn't that he wasn't strong enough, but that the benefits weren't enough for him to risk his life. Only the 4 battle constitutions and the Sage King were left. They looked at each other with anger in their eyes, and their aura rose even faster than before. They had exposed their true strength. In the past, Yi Qinghan wasn't enough to make them reveal their true strength. Their true enemy was still the sorcerer tribe. But now, Yi Qinghan's strength had forced them to use their true strength. I'll show you what a true battle constitution is. Other than the supreme gods, they are the absolute sovereigns. The Sage King said hoarsely. What? The 3 battle constitutions of sun and moon and stars all retreated and controlled the surroundings, trapping Yi Qinghan in this territory. Only the Black Tiger battle constitution and the Sage King remained in place, but their auras were extremely strong at this moment. 2 people are enough to kill you. The Black Tiger battle constitution roared and turned into a giant tiger that was 10 feet tall. Its aura was even more terrifying than a dragon's aura, and it suppressed Yi Qinghan's aura. Yi Qinghan's eyebrows twitched slightly. He didn't expect these battle constitutions to hide their strength. So what if they hide their strength? It's enough to kill you. Boom, boom. The surrounding space collapsed. The black tiger waved its claws and tore through the void, smashing towards Yi Qinghan. If this claw hit, Yi Qinghan would definitely be smashed to death. Yi Qinghan shook his body and turned into a giant that was 10 feet tall. Looking at the black tiger that was charging towards him, he waved his fist towards the black tiger's head. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Qinghan's fist rubbed against the black tiger's head, and flames appeared along with the roar of the fire origin. At the same time, the Lord Sage formed a seal with his hands. His palm turned into a finger, and his index finger was in the air. It was like a pillar that held up the sky, rushing into the clouds. Then, divine power poured out, as if it was going to crush the world. The small regions outside the 10,000 laws domain directly collapsed. It was too difficult to resist the suppression of the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. The great earth roared and shook, devouring the mountain range and destroying everything around it. Heaven and earth released mournful cries, all methods howling in grief. Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. The Sage King roared as he descended from the sky like a giant god. His gigantic finger pierced through the air towards Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end as he rushed towards the huge black tiger. With a punch, he shook off the black tiger's huge claws. He was almost hit by the 4 overgod battle physiques. Chapter 973. Blast him out of the ground, roared the Sage King. Boom, boom. The 4 battle constitutions attacked, turning the ground upside down. Their attacks penetrated the Earth's origin energy and took away one's life. Yi Qinghan kept dodging underground. Sword chi and spears constantly slashed past him. It was extremely dangerous. Slowly, the escaping overgods returned and attacked the ground madly. Yi Qinghan was soon attacked, and his body plummeted. He was in an extremely sorry state. Whoosh-da-whoosh. Yi Qinghan passed through the ground and rushed into the clouds. He immediately transformed into a heavenly dragon and roared. With a wave of his dragon claw, the fruit of primal chaos appeared in his hand. A fierce light flashed in his eyes as he roared hoarsely, "You forced me to do this. If I die today, None of you will escape." With that, Yi Qinghan swallowed the fruit of primal chaos in one gulp. The power of primal chaos in his body flooded his bones. At that moment, the myriad of changes of the myriad Dao minor Dao appeared in Yi Qinghan's mind. The 13 godhoods he comprehended instantly rushed into the overgod level, and all the great Dao he comprehended before reached the greater success stage. Boom! Qi rushed into the clouds, and his dragon body was about to shatter. The fruit of primal chaos was not suitable for eating at all. The energy it contained was too powerful, and it was usually used for comprehension. However, Yi Qinghan ate the entire fruit in one gulp. He was bearing too much. But there was nothing he could do. He was facing too many powerful enemies. Boom! Boom! Dragon blood burned in his body and attacked his body. His body was extraordinary, but it still could not bear the crazy impact of the fruit of primal chaos. Yi Qinghan's 2-meter-tall body was still the same, but his aura was already extraordinary. It was as if he could support the heavens and earth. His imposing back blocked the vision of the experts of the Myriad Law region. Apart from his back, there was nothing else in their eyes. The 4 great battle constitutions and the Holy Lord King stood rooted to the ground, forgetting to attack. Yi Qinghan could not even protect himself, let alone attack others. The fruit of chaos was so powerful that Yi Qinghan was unable to unleash his primal chaos energy. His mind was filled with the profound mysteries of the grand Tao and incomprehensible runes, causing his soul to become somewhat muddled. Yi Qinghan's soul was extremely terrifying, but he was only able to maintain the most basic functions. He had to rely on his instincts to absorb the rest. Boom! Great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger. Whoosh! The sage monarch king's mind paused for a moment before he immediately exploded and blasted towards Yi Qinghan. He wanted to kill Yi Qinghan in his cradle. Bang! A finger pressed against Yi Qinghan's chest, sending him flying thousands of meters away. Blood spurted out like arrows, dyeing the void red. There was a huge bloody hole in his chest, but the primal chaos energy in his body was too powerful. In addition to the heavy berserk armor and the 10,000 Buddha's pagoda, the sage monarch king's all-out attack actually failed to penetrate Yi Qinghan's chest. Yi Qinghan heavily crashed to the ground, letting out an inhuman roar. At this moment he did not feel the slightest bit of pain. His wounds were instantly healed by the primal chaos energy. Kill him! Don't let him break through! The sage monarch king's angry roar alarmed the 4 great battle constitutions. The 5 of them erupted at the same time, wielding divine weapons as they charged towards Yi Qinghan, wanting to kill him on the spot. Boom! Boom! Whoosh! Whoosh! The void constantly collapsed as divine light shot out, piercing through thousands of miles. The attack power of the 5 was enough to kill any defenseless overgod. Even if an average overgod defended, it would be difficult for them to escape death. But at this moment, they struck Yi Qinghan and even smashed him deep into the ground, yet they still could not penetrate his body. Boom! A huge crater appeared in everyone's vision. It was 1,000 feet deep, and the ground was dyed red. Is he dead? Yi Qinghan's body trembled, and there was despair in her eyes. With such attack power, even the true Lord of Gods in her eyes, her father, Bai Yelu, would die without a doubt. Could Yi Qinghan still be alive? In fact, she was not the only one asking. Everyone was wondering if Yi Qinghan was dead. Smoke and dust filled the air, blocking everyone's vision. No one knew if Yi Qinghan was dead or alive. The sage monarch king did not care if Yi Qinghan was dead or alive. He did not hold back as he continued to order, "Continue to kill. Don't give him a chance." Boom! Boom! The 5 experts erupted at the same time, blasting the crater once again. The aftershock spread for thousands of miles. There was no doubt that the crater could even shatter the shell of an overgod. Not to mention a physical body. The 5 of them unleashed more than 10 attacks each before they slowly stopped. Smoke and dust covered the sky, and there was already a bottomless abyss in the depths. Only when there was no sound from below did they completely stop. He must be dead. No one doubted that Bai Shaoxing was in complete despair and no longer held any hope. A look of heartlessness flashed through the sage monarch king's eyes. he ordered an ordinary demon god mountain over god, Xianlun, go down and retrieve Yi Qinghan's corpse. Xianlun did not dare to go against the sage monarch king's will. Under the cover of the smoke and dust, he jumped into the crater and dove down until he reached the bottom. It was pitch black, and the dust was so thick that he could not even see his own fingers. He could only slowly search for Yi Qinghan's corpse. The Saint King kept spitting out blood, and his eyeballs almost popped out. His internal organs were completely deformed, and this was because Yi Qinghan had only used his physical body and not his divine power. Otherwise, this punch would have killed him completely. The fists rained down, causing the Saint Sovereign King to scream in pain. He had lost all ability to resist. Kill! Boom! Boom! The 4 great war constitutions relied solely on their physical bodies. They didn't even dare to use their weapons for fear of accidentally killing the sage monarch. Bang! Yi Qinghan was sent flying by the 4 great war constitutions, but Yi Qinghan had been holding on to the sage monarch king, who was also sent flying. He crashed heavily into the ground and rolled a few hundred meters before coming to a stop. Yi Qinghan didn't care about the 4 great war constitutions' attacks. He kept swinging his iron fists at the sage monarch king, and every punch destroyed a part of the sage monarch king's life source. Boom! Boom! Yi Qinghan's madness was like a wild beast's instinctive attack. He relied solely on his fists, savagery, and ruthlessness. Everyone was terrified. Yi Qinghan seemed to want to focus on killing one and slowly deal with the rest. However, he was entangled with the sage monarch king, causing the 4 great war constitutions to be unable to use their weapons. Boom! After another punch, the sage monarch king was on the verge of death. He couldn't even let out a scream. Bai Yelu's expression changed. The sword in his hand trembled involuntarily. He didn't need an existence that surpassed everything. He wanted to maintain balance, so he didn't want Yi Qinghan to be alive. Therefore, he moved in an instant. That whoosh! Bai Yelu activated his divine sword and turned it into a bolt of lightning that shot towards Yi Qinghan's head. This sword was extremely fast, and its power was absolutely terrifying. It was enough to kill Yi Qinghan. The moment Bai Yelu moved, Bai Xiaoxing also moved. This was because she saw her father attack from the corner of her eye. In addition, she was close to Yi Qinghan, so she directly pounced on Yi Qinghan and used her body to block Bai Yelu's sword. How could Bai Xiaoxing's body block Bai Yelu's attack? Her chest was instantly pierced through. However, Bai Yelu didn't stop. Instead, he stabbed towards Yi Qinghan with Bai Xiaoxing's body. Bai Xiaoxing screamed into the sky. She grabbed Bai Yelu's hands and looked at her father's heartless eyes in disbelief. She felt half of her life force dissipating in an instant. Even her soul was dispersing. Her head slowly drooped. Yi Qinghan felt the aura of death. He immediately gave up on attacking the sage monarch king. He stood up and saw that Bai Xiaoxing had used her life to block most of the sword in order to save him. The sword pierced through her body and struck his chest at lightning speed. Boom! Chapter 975. Yi Qinghan swooped down with Bai Xiaoxing's corpse and bathed in the river of blood. Bai Xiaoxing's body had already been drained of blood. Yi Qinghan was furious. He didn't expect that the person he had lied to for half a year would be willing to give up her life for him. He wasn't a bad person, nor was he a good person, but he still had the most basic principles and bottom line. This favor couldn't be repaid in any other way, and there was no chance to do so. Boom! Yi Qinghan didn't care about the cost and injected some pure sunlight elements into Bai Xiaoxing's body in an attempt to save her life. Unfortunately, it was futile. Bai Xiaoxing's heart had already been pierced by Bai Yelu's sword, destroying her soul origin. Her desire to live wasn't strong to begin with, and with the 4 battle constitutions penetrating her body, even if Yi Qinghan could reverse the situation, he wouldn't be able to save her life. No. Hold on a little longer. Yi Qinghan roared. Sensing the life in the space, he directly tore open the alternate space and fell out. Without the support of the quintessence, he fell from the sky and crashed into the foot of a mountain. In order to prevent Bai Xiaoxing from being injured again, Yi Qinghan used his own body to slam into the ground, causing a cloud of dust to rise. Yi Qinghan spat out a mouthful of essence blood and stood up with Bai Shaoxing in his arms. He shot out like an arrow and rushed towards the human city not far from the foot of the mountain. The mountain range was connected into a single line, and the sky and clouds were within reach. Pear blossoms bloomed and covered the sky. It was snowy white, like a fairyland. Yi Qinghan carried Bai Shaoxing's corpse through the rain of pear blossoms. Blood splattered everywhere and dyed the flowers red. The bloody flowers were swept up by the air currents and flew high into the sky. Moments later, Yi Qinghan ran to the city walls with Bai Shaoxing in his arms. The tall city gates were engraved with the words, Right Spring Prefecture. The gates were wide open and there were no guards at all. The villagers in the prefecture were not on guard against each other and did not take any chances. It was just like the peach blossom spring. There was no fighting and no law of the jungle. When Yi Qinghan appeared and left, he attracted the attention of the passers-by. They were not on guard, nor did they watch the show. All of them rushed over to ask if Yi Qinghan needed any help. Yi Qinghan was covered in blood and asked anxiously, "Is there a godly doctor nearby?" "It's in the city." "Young man, come with me quickly." "I'll take you there," a simple and honest middle-aged man quickly replied, his eyes filled with worry. Swish, swish. Yi Qinghan lifted the middle-aged man and rushed into the city. He said hoarsely, "Lead the way." The middle-aged man was shocked by Yi Qinghan. He felt wind in his ears and mouth. Chapter 976. Damn it, my mystical origin has been scattered. I have divine power but I can't use it. Without divine power, divine arts can't be used. Am I destined to rely on my physical body to prove my Tao? Yi Qinghan leaned against the bed and looked out the window dispiritedly. He had painstakingly forged the 9-revolution chaotic Tao body, but he couldn't even use the most basic origin body. Bai Shaoxing's injuries were much more serious than Yi Qinghan's. If not for the miracle doctor and the pure sunlight element, no one would have been able to save her. Not long after, the old man brought a bowl of medicine and placed it in Yi Qinghan's hands. He said calmly, "Feed her. She'll be fine in a while." Yi Qinghan took the medicine and said hoarsely, "Thank you, Senior, for your righteousness. I will definitely repay you tenfold." "Do you understand the price you paid now? Do you regret it now? I only need you to tell me the answer. That will be your repayment." The old man stared at Yi Qinghan, hoping that he would answer his question seriously. Yi Qinghan shook his head and said, "I don't regret it. Back then, I made the opposite decision. Now I regret it. That's why I'm willing to save her. Even though you only have 3 years, I've done my best. Stay here for the next 3 years. This is a sacred land. It's fate that brought you here." With that, the old man turned and left, leaving Yi Qinghan with a sorrowful back. Time flowed like water. Yi Qinghan was powerless to reverse the situation. He couldn't use the mystical origin and divine power. He could only rely on his physical body to slowly recover. The next day, Bai Shaoxing woke up from her coma. The old man's medical skills were indeed superb. He could bring the dead back to life. Even though it was only 3 years of life, it was still beyond everyone's comprehension. Bai Shaoxing looked at his eyes in confusion and saw Yi Qinghan standing outside the window. Against the mountains and rivers, he looked magnificent. He murmured hoarsely, "So hell isn't as scary as I thought." Yi Qinghan hurriedly turned around and helped Bai Shaoxing up. He helped her out of the window and looked at the pear blossoms around them. He explained in a hoarse voice, "You're not dead yet, and neither am I. It's just that your life force is dissipating 100,000 times faster than a normal person's. I thought I was dead for sure. It would be good if I could live for another 2 or 3 years." Bai Shaoxing was shocked. There was a trace of reluctance and sadness in his eyes, but he hid it well. "You're really stupid. Why did you block that sword? I lied to you for so long. I was just using you. Is there something wrong with your brain?" Yi Qinghan's heart was filled with anger. He had used a woman's life in exchange for his own and was unable to repay the debt. This sort of guilt was even worse than being heavily injured. "You're the one with a hole in your head." By the second year, Bai Shaoxing's hair had turned white, and his skin had begun to wrinkle. It was still the same season, but things had changed. Yi Qinghan took the initiative to hold her arm and helped her wander around Lichuan Prefecture. The people of Lichuan Prefecture recognized the two of them and often sent them small art sculptures. There were sculptures of two people holding hands, and there were also sculptures of two people sitting under a pear tree. Every sculpture was perfect to the extreme, and the craftsmanship was uncanny. By the end of the second year, Bai Xiaoxing was so old that her hair was as white as snow, without a trace of black. Her skin was completely wrinkled. She was so old that she could not even walk. Yi Qinghan brought her to a carving shop. Yi Qinghan began to learn carving. He carved Bai Xiaoxing's changes in the past 3 years. It was the first time he saw Bai Xiaoxing's appearance. Yi Qinghan studied diligently. Gradually, he carved out Bai Xiaoxing's spirit and soul as if it was coming to life. Yi Qinghan's mentality slowly changed. His impetuous heart finally calmed down. Day after day, he carved Bai Xiaoxing's appearance. Bai Xiaoxing just sat there quietly. There was only half a month left before the end of her life. Yi Qinghan's carving was just like Bai Xiaoxing's reappearance. These 3 years have been the happiest time of my life. Thank you, Bai Xiaoxing said happily. Yi Qinghan looked at Bai Xiaoxing's aged face. His nose turned sour and he almost couldn't hold back his tears. I'm sorry. I still haven't found a way to preserve your life, Yi Qinghan said softly. No, I don't need it. I like this kind of mortal life. If I don't die, you might not even be alive. Your survival has made me experience happiness. It's the kind of happiness that comes from the bottom of my heart. It's a happiness that many people can't experience even after living for tens of thousands or even millions of years. I've felt it, and I'm living a better life than them, Bai Xiaoxing said seriously. Yi Qinghan was silent. He felt ashamed to face this girl who was as pure as a piece of white paper. I don't fight for eternity, I fight for every moment. Bai Xiaoxing looked at her own carving. Her eyes were filled with sadness and reluctance. She had completely fallen in love with the feeling of being protected. It wasn't that she didn't want to fight for eternity, but she didn't have the ability to fight for it. Every moment was enough. It was Bai Xiaoxing's life token. Seeing the crack grow bigger and bigger, and the life fluctuations growing dimmer and dimmer, he couldn't help but dejectedly sit down. In the past 3 years, the 10,000 Arts Return to Oneness sect had become particularly quiet. Bai Yelu had also become much quieter. He had never gone out, only sitting cross-legged in the Thunder Punishment Territory to cultivate in seclusion, enduring the strikes of the Thunder Punishment Territory. He had not gone out for 3 whole years. Boom, 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 boom. Thunder Punishment Territory struck Bai Yelu's body, turning him into a bloody mess. It would explode every 2 hours, and each explosion lasted for an incense stick's worth of time. The remaining time was given to the person receiving the punishment to recover. After a long time, Bai Fengyun came out of the Thunder Punishment Cave with the Shattered Life token and said with a hoarse voice, "Father, sister has left. I know. Go back and announce my father's decree. From today onwards, the position of Sect Master of the Myriad Law Return to Origin Sect will be passed to you. I will cultivate in seclusion in the Thunder Punishment Cave for 300 years. Bai Yelu didn't turn his head. His sorrowful aura was filled with regret and anger. He hated Yi Qinghan. The daughter he raised didn't understand him and actually helped the enemy. Now that Bai Xiaoxing had reached Dao actualization, he could only vent his hatred on Yi Qinghan. If it wasn't for Yi Qinghan, Bai Xiaoxing definitely wouldn't have disobeyed him. Yi Qinghan, you will be buried together with her. Bai Yelu's hoarse roar reverberated in the Thunder Punishment Cave. Following which, lightning flashed and tore his body apart. Beside a lake in Right Spring Prefecture, 2 people were hugging each other tightly. The night wind blew and swept up the pear blossoms. The 2 figures stood upright in the rustling wind. I've reached the end. Don't miss me. Bai Xiaoxing laid in Yi Qinghan's arms. Her arms hugged his neck and gradually slid down his shoulders. Her breath and soul disappeared at the same time. Yi Qinghan hugged her tighter and tighter. His entire body felt cold. It was a coldness that came from the bottom of his heart. It was as though he had lost something. For the past 3 years, he didn't do it for love, but for responsibility. But now, he seemed to understand that responsibility was sometimes more noble than love. When he lost this responsibility, it was even more heart-wrenching than losing love. Tears were flowing. Silent tears were always the most painful wound in the heart. It was an unspeakable sorrow. This was Yi Qinghan's greatest sorrow after Owl Warstar. "I'm going to avenge you." Yi Qinghan slowly carried by Xiaosheng's body and walked around the lake again and again. He whispered, "You said you loved this place and this lake the most. But this is the last time you'll see this lake." These divine crossbows had great explosive power. They could penetrate a powerhouse's soul from hundreds of miles away. Only half-step lords could pull the divine crossbows. There were only a dozen or so gigantic battle bows. The dozen or so half-step lords worked together to pull the divine crossbow battle bows. Their divine power poured into them and converged into towering arrows. They tore through the clouds and shot into the enemy's military camp like lightning. Similarly, the demonic god mountain was also probing the other side. Both sides had suffered casualties and were looking for an opportunity to kill the other side first. Suddenly, the Guangwu combat body turned his head abruptly and saw 2 silhouettes appear at the territory gate behind the army. He was shocked when he focused his gaze. He had not expected to see Yi Qinghan here. He immediately ordered the army to stop attacking the other side of the river and defend Yi Qinghan instead. "I'm Wu Zhongyi from West Pass. Fellow Taoist Yi Qinghan is one of us. I'm just passing by today. Don't be nervous, everyone," Wu Zhongyi hurriedly explained in a low voice, afraid that the witch tribe army would attack Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's vigorous body stepped toward the shore of the True Dragon River. He ignored the vigilance of the millions of powerhouses and brushed past the Guangwu combat body. He did not even look at the Guangwu combat body. He only stared at the iron chains that were as thick as an arm and the tumbling river water. He knew that he could not use the water origin to step on the True Dragon River's water to cross the river. With a tap of his toes, he charged onto one of the iron chains on the True Dragon Bridge that was more than 4 meters tall. Buzz! The thick iron chain swayed gently, swaying left and right. Yi Qinghan took a deep breath and adjusted his state of mind. He wanted to stabilize the iron chain and directly walk over. "Let him pass. Don't attack him," Wu Zhongyi reminded softly. The Guangwu combat body nodded, but ordered the army to prepare for attack. As long as the demonic god mountain gave the order to attack Yi Qinghan, the witch tribe would use this opportunity to counterattack. After Yi Qinghan stabilized himself, he walked to the other side of the river step by step. He was alone, so he immediately raised the vigilance of the demonic god mountain army. Tiger Liang frowned as he looked at the black figure in front of him. The face that gradually became clearer made his hair stand on end. "How can it be him?" Tiger Liang was shocked. He roared at the sovereign behind him, "Immediately notify the war zone and send all the combat bodies to reinforce him." He alone could sweep this place clean. However, Yi Qinghan wasn't rushing over right now, and the demon god mountain battle physique was rushing over to help. He wouldn't take the initiative to attack. Stall for time. The black tiger battle physique made up his mind. He swallowed a mouthful of saliva and felt his hands ache. His face was dripping with sweat, not to mention the others. Many of the soldiers who were holding spears were trembling. Meanwhile, the half-step lords who were holding god crossbows were even more nervous. Their hands were shaking constantly. The arrows on their bowstrings could tear through the void and charge at them at any moment. It was very likely that they would misfire. "Milord, we can't keep wasting time like this. Look at the army. They're all extremely nervous and tired." A young sovereign was rather anxious. Even sovereigns couldn't handle such an atmosphere, let alone them. "Bear with it. Don't let your guard down. The Sun-Moon battle physique and the Astral battle physique will arrive here in 3 hours at the quickest and 4 hours at the slowest," the Black Tiger battle physique said in a low voice. Tap tap tap. Yi Qinghan was moving faster and faster. He was getting used to the swaying of the chains and had mastered the technique of walking quickly. His rhythm was improving. Whooshed at that moment, one of the lords lost his grip on the god crossbow in his hand due to his extreme nervousness. The arrow shot out at lightning speed, heading straight for Yi Qinghan's actual body. Who shot that? Do they have a death wish? Tiger Liang was enraged. The spear in his hand flew out and pierced the arrow that tore through the void. The arrow fell into the river. He turned his head and stared at the army behind him. His expression was extremely grim. Fortunately, he had acted quickly and shot the arrow down when it was just a short distance away from Yi Qinghan. Otherwise, the consequences would have been unthinkable. "My lord, please spare my life. I really can't take it anymore. I'm too nervous." A middle-aged half-step lord was horrified. He knelt on the ground immediately and hung his head low. He did not dare to lift his head at all. Tiger Liang watched the other half-step lords draw their longbows and crossbows fully. Indeed, they were wasting a great deal of their divine power. In addition to their nervousness, they could go off at any time. He could only say in a low voice, "All archers and god crossbow combat archers, put down your bows and arrows. However, be prepared at all times." All the half-step lords could not help but exhale. They were drenched in sweat. Although they had put down their crossbows and combat bows, they dared not let their guard down. The glow of the setting sun descended. A strong wind blew, causing their long hair to dance. Yi Qinghan had already begun running. He was already more than halfway there. The 10-odd chains swayed more and more violently. "Not a single one can be missing," Yi Qinghan said in a deep voice. "Yes, Mr. Yi, I won't let you down." Although Lan Yao had taken revenge, she felt very guilty for causing Yi Qinghan to lose so much because of her hatred. There was no smile on her face. Speaking of boundary steals, the celestial treasure battle physique suddenly said, "Yi Qinghan, I have a boundary steel here. It's called the Darkness Boundary Steel. I obtained it by chance some time ago. You can use it for the time being." The celestial treasure battle physique Dong Qin swiped her hand across the void. A 10-meter-tall boundary steel appeared in the hall. The mystical laws rippled out. It was filled with abstruse profundities. It was as if one was facing a dark hell. The Darkness Boundary Steel was originally the supreme treasure of the Six Gods Tao sect. However, it had been lost for several epochs. It recorded all the mystical laws and divine abilities of the Darkness Boundary Steel. It would take at least 100 years to fully comprehend the Darkness Boundary Steel. Don't go out for the next few years. Leave the matter of finding the Boundary Steel to us. There are rumors everywhere that you have lost your origin and your godhead has shattered. Many people want to use you to establish their might. Even the new powerhouses want to challenge you. It seems that the insane sect will have a hard time in the future, Gu Qingyu said helplessly. Isolate them outside the Azura domain. I don't have the time to fight with them, nor am I interested. A cold glint flashed across Yi Qinghan's eyes as he said sternly, "Kill any overgods who dare to enter the endless star system." That's not good. So many people are openly challenging us. It's not good if we don't accept their challenge. Why don't we use them to temper the juniors? If they want to challenge you, they must pass 3 tests. The first test is to fight the juniors of my sect. The second test is to train the powerhouses. If they can pass the second test, then arrange for the inner sect to kill them in the third test. If they don't have the ability to meet you, then no one can say anything about it, Gu Qingyu said indifferently. Yi Qinghan thought about it. This was a good idea. The insane sect and the endless star system needed stepping stones. Since they dared to come, then he would rely on them to sharpen his blade. Even Yi Qinghan smiled. Muzhua's innate talent was excellent, and he didn't lose out to anyone in the inner sect. Just the self-created spring from rotten wood was enough to prove his worth. However, what he lacked was a life-and-death battle with a true unrivaled king. If Yi Qinghan wanted to raise Mu Zhuang, he could easily turn him into an existence that was on par with Gu Qingyu and Li Feng. It was not that he was strong, but Mu Zhuang was indeed a monstrous genius. Well, if you join the insane sect, then you will be my brother and sister. I will not favor one and discriminate against the other. Let me introduce you. Yi Qinghan smiled and turned around to call the inner sect members. Zixian, Dong Qin, Emperor Yi and the others had gone out to search for treasures. Only Li Feng, Gu Qingyu, Dilong Tian and the others were still here. I know these people. I have heard of their names for a long time. Mu Zhuang cupped his fists and said, Mu Zhuang greets all of you. You can call me Mu Zhuang. They were all heroes and there was no barrier between them. Mu Zhuang quickly integrated with them. Yi Qinghan nodded. The insane sect needed new blood. In this chaotic world, changes had to be made. Otherwise, they would be eliminated. Mu Zhuang, since we are brothers, let me remind you. Your rotten would become spring is indeed a classic move. However, the sharpness and murderous intent in your sword move is too little. Your speed is too slow and the lethality is too weak. Why don't you learn from brother Li Feng? We are all brothers, so there is no need to be so particular about it. Yi Qinghan said calmly. Mu Zhuang was very arrogant. Before today, he had always thought that he was the most talented and the most suitable existence for martial arts. His rotten would become spring alone could instantly kill a battle constitution. He didn't expect that in Yi Qinghan's eyes, he had so many flaws. Everyone was a genius. When they chatted, they lowered their posture to the lowest. They all had their own advantages and disadvantages, including Li Feng. They all felt that the wooden stakes had their own merits. Therefore, the group returned to Owl Fighting Star and sat down cross-legged. They carefully studied and discussed, occasionally standing up to spar. Yi Qinghan told everyone about his advantages and experience in close combat. He didn't hold anything back. How much they could improve depended on their own understanding and luck. That was his personality. He didn't hold back when he acknowledged his brothers. Moreover, in this chaotic world, no one knew if they would be alive tomorrow. Even Yi Qinghan himself couldn't guarantee it. Therefore, the stronger his brothers were, the stronger the insane sect would be. Yi Qinghan's combat skills were even inferior to Li Feng's, but Li Feng also had his own advantages, and that was his Dao. The group tested each other, attacked each other, and found weaknesses. Everyone was improving, but Mu Zhuang's improvement was indeed fast. His talent and wisdom were a cut above the others, otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to create vitality in his sword moves. Yi Qinghan didn't have any divine power, so he could only help them by demonstrating. After chatting for about 2 hours, he was very tired and was about to go back to cultivate. Suddenly, a sword aura cut through the void and appeared in the center of Owl Dragon Domain. He couldn't be more familiar with that sword aura. He couldn't help but be furious. By Yelu! Yi Qinghan, get the hell out here. My daughter is dead. How dare you live? An angry roar resounded through the clouds. The sword aura destroyed 10,000 li of spacetime and approached Owl War Planet. It couldn't be easier for a powerful overgod to sneak in here. Now, they were only glad that Bai Yelu didn't go crazy and kill the innocent creatures in the endless star system. Perhaps he didn't dare because he also had a super sect behind him. If he dared to take revenge, so did Yi Qinghan. Swoosh! Yi Qinghan's body trembled, and the god-slaying eagle and armor transformed. Its huge wings flapped the sky, causing the space to collapse. Whoosh! Yi Qinghan soared into the sky, and his eyes were full of murderous intent. Whoosh whoosh whoosh! More than 10 figures from the insane sect rushed into the void and blocked Bai Yelu outside Owl War Planet. The group landed on a dead planet and glared at each other with deep hostility. You still have the face to look for me? You still have the face to come out and take revenge for Saint Xiaoxing? Yi Qinghan's voice was cold and emotionless. He roared hoarsely, Bai Yelu, if I didn't promise Saint Xiaoxing that I wouldn't take revenge on myriad arts returned to one sect, do you think you can still stand here alive? Yi Qinghan, if it wasn't for you, how could we have differences? How could we be separated by life and death? This is all thanks to you. Since Saint Xiaoxing was willing to die for you, you should be buried with her. Bai Yelu sneered and drew his sword to attack Yi Qinghan. The sword rainbow pierced through the river and went deep into the wilderness. Ding ding ding. The sword momentum was like a rainbow, constantly brushing past Yi Qinghan. Yi Qinghan's figure kept dodging in the air. The sword qi pierced through the feathers of the god-slaying eagle's wings. Black feathers danced in the air and scattered all over the mountains and rivers. The sword qi pierced through the divine robes. It was a ghastly sight. If Yi Qinghan was slightly slower, he would have died on the spot. Zhu Xiong clenched his fists. Li Feng and Gu Qingyu kept fiddling with the hilts of their swords. Their eyes were fixed on the battlefield, ready to attack at any time. Yi Qinghan kept sticking close to the sword light, trying to get closer to Bai Yelu. Without the support of divine power, it was impossible to hurt him from a distance. The god-slaying eagle could only maintain his basic flight. Swish, 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 swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The two of them sped through the air, exchanging blows. Yi Qinghan was constantly suppressed because he couldn't use his strength to fight head-on. Die for me. Bai Yelu was indeed the ultimate existence of the older generation. He was a terrifying giant god who could control the unifying sect. Yi Qinghan didn't have the support of divine power and couldn't fight against him at all. His sword moves were exquisite, blocking all paths of retreat for Yi Qinghan. Divine power poured out. His left fist shattered space and crashed toward Yi Qinghan's heart. There was no way to retreat. He could only fight head-on with his fist. Yi Qinghan gritted his teeth and punched out with his iron fist. He relied entirely on his physical body to attack Bai Yelu. Boom! The two fists collided. One had the power of a sovereign, the other had the physical body. The advantage was immediately apparent. Yi Qinghan was like a kite with its string cut. He smashed viciously into the Death Star, his wings nearly broken. Yi Qinghan, in order to protect the god-slaying eagle, could only retract his wings. Without his wings blocking him, his flying speed increased by tens of times. Boom! Hua! Yi Qinghan smashed into the ground, creating a long dragon of flames. The deep crack seemed to pierce through the stars. I want you to die. Bai Yelu exploded. He sped through the void, chasing after Yi Qinghan's body. His sword traversed tens of thousands of kilometers as he attacked Yi Qinghan's physical body. Yi Qinghan's hair stood on end. His forehead was covered in sweat. His right hand trembled as he howled, "Zhong Kuang! Come out!" But Zhong Kuang couldn't hear his call at all. He still couldn't control his divine power. A person without a quintessence couldn't control a divine spark. He was just a piece of trash. Yi Qinghan was forced into a dead end. He roared angrily as his dragon blood boiled. The dragon scales on his body rose up, covering his fist and body. Even his face was covered. Chapter 988. Bai Yelu and Yi Qinghan were standing face to face. They were so close that their eyes were staring at each other. Killing intent shot out as they opposed each other with equal harshness. Yi Qinghan's source energy was no longer concealed. Bai Yelu didn't know whether to be happy or sad. For the sake of the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, his daughter's life was lost. Yi Qinghan's source energy was also scattered by him. Right now, he was no different from a cripple. Back then, was that sword right or wrong? Bai Yelu was at a loss. He asked himself, was the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger worth all this? If the source energy is gone, I can still find it. But if Sage Shao is dead, can he still come back alive? Yi Qinghan asked with a hoarse voice. This sentence struck Bai Yelu's Dao heart. His body trembled and the sword in his hand almost fell out of his hand. You don't understand the purpose of cultivation. You really don't. Although the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger is powerful and important, what is your purpose for obtaining it? Isn't it for cultivation and to protect your family's inheritance? But what did you do? Yi Qinghan's voice was powerful as he reprimanded sternly. You don't understand emotions. Your cultivation in this life will stop here. After living for so long, you don't even know the purpose of cultivation. Don't you find it ridiculous? Yi Qinghan asked angrily. Shut up. If not for you, would she have blocked that sword without hesitation? Bai Yelu crazily tried to pierce Yi Qinghan's body with his sword, but the scales on Yi Qinghan's hands were pierced. He still couldn't break through Yi Qinghan's defense. Yi Qinghan kept retreating. The lava armor on his body kept shattering and the dead star completely collapsed. Bush, bush, bush. The huge wings flapped crazily and the space-time turbulence was shattered. However, it couldn't stop the momentum of his defeat. Ding, ding, ding. Li Feng and Gu Qingyu almost couldn't hold on any longer. The speed at which they moved the sword hilt became faster and faster. "Return the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger to me," Bai Yelu roared. Yi Qinghan replied indifferently, "He's buried." "He's buried with Xiaoxing." Bai Yelu's attack speed suddenly dropped. He did not expect Yi Qinghan to have buried the giant god's divine ability, and buried it beside his own daughter. "It seems that I really don't understand. I don't love her as much as you do." Bai Yelu took a few steps back dispiritedly, his hair disheveled. He killed Bai Xiaoxing for the sake of the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger, and Yi Qinghan actually used the great desolate imprisoning heavenly finger to accompany Bai Xiaoxing in death. This was the difference. No matter how powerful a secret technique was, in Yi Qinghan's eyes, it could not compare to family, friendship, and love. Was I wrong? Chapter 989. Bai Yelu attacked a few more times, but he was sent flying by the runes. His divine energy poured out, and a sword rainbow pierced through the void. At this moment, the divine doctor who saved Bai Yelu 3 years ago appeared again. He looked like an immortal, and his white robe fluttered in the wind. He couldn't help but sigh when he saw Bai Yelu's angry actions. "Young man, you've gone mad," the divine doctor said calmly. Bai Yelu didn't know how many years he had lived in this world, and there weren't many people who dared to call him a young man. However, the divine doctor said it so easily. Bai Yelu turned around indifferently, and his eyes glowed red. He stared at the old divine doctor, and slowly, the red light in his eyes dissipated, and there was some doubt in his eyes. "The dead are gone, young man, why disturb the rest of the dead? At this moment, your Tao heart is in a mess, and you don't know what's right or wrong. Why don't you calm down and think about it?" The old divine doctor said calmly. "I didn't do anything wrong." Bai Yelu shouted angrily. "Since you didn't do anything wrong, why are you so stubborn? Why are you so crazy?" The old divine doctor continued to ask. Bai Yelu was silent. Right or wrong, there was a balance in his heart. He might have been wrong about that sword, but he didn't regret it because he thought that it was for the sake of the unifying sect. Killing Yi Qinghan would cut off the hope of a super existence being born. It wouldn't break the deadlock, and it would be beneficial to everyone. The only mistake was that Bai Xiaoxing shouldn't have blocked that sword. You don't understand the emotions of a human. Your starting point might be right, but your actions are wrong. The old divine doctor sighed. Bai Yelu stared at the old man and asked coldly, "Who are you?" The old man didn't answer Bai Yelu's question, and walked slowly to Bai Xiaoxing's tombstone. He reached out and grabbed a few spirit pairs from afar, and placed them on the tombstone. With a wave of his hand, the dirt that was sent flying returned to its original state. Who I am is not important. What's important is that you don't understand emotions. If you understood everything, you wouldn't need to know my name. The old man said hoarsely. "Trying to act mysterious in front of me? You're courting death." Bai Yelu was furious, and he raised his sword to stab the old man's back. Echimed the sword chi soared through the air and directly hit the old man's back. However, the old man's white robe fluttered and the sword chi dissipated. He slowly turned around and a silver needle the length of a middle finger appeared in his hand. It was as thick as a strand of hair and was almost negligible. The silver needle was gently pushed forward and pressed against Bai Yelu's divine sword. The seemingly ordinary strike actually dissipated Bai Yelu's destructive attack. Bai Yelu's pupils constricted. "I have been searching for the right and wrong of the past all these years, and it was the two of them who gave me the answer. You can't destroy this tomb, otherwise, don't blame this old man for being angry." The mountains and rivers where the pear blossoms fell were so desolate. Bai Yelu stood up dispiritedly and slowly walked into the distance. Azura Domain, Grand Monarch Shura received venerable 6 paths. He learned that the 6 paths auction house was preparing to hold a grand auction with several overgod-level supreme treasures. He hoped that Azura Domain could cooperate with the publicity and attract more experts to take out more treasures. This would make the Six Paths auction house even more famous and completely suppress the other auction houses. By the end of the year, it would at least squeeze into the top 5 auction houses. Grand Monarch Shura thought for a moment and nodded in agreement. Over the past decade, Azura Domain had relied on the Six Paths auction house to develop rapidly, saving at least 1,000 years of development time. In just a little more than a decade, Azura Domain had developed into one of the top 30 superpowers of the chaotic universe. Now, it was time to repay the favor. Go back and prepare. The auction will be held at the beginning of spring next year. At that time, there will be no less than 10 Overgod-level supreme treasures, including Overgod weapons, Overgod-level secret arts, and divine abilities, Grand Monarch Shura said calmly. Thank you, King Shura. Venerable Six Paths looked at Yi Qinghan's battle robes in awe. However, he was in awe of King Shura, not Grand Monarch Shura. After Venerable Six Paths left, Grand Monarch Shura secretly returned to Owl Warstar and found Yi Qinghan. He told him about Venerable Six Paths' request. Yi Qinghan opened his eyes slightly and exhaled a turbid breath. He nodded and said, Go prepare. I will think of a way to deal with the Overgod-level secret arts. It just so happens that I am looking for some treasures to see if they can repair my origin. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.